Welcome to I Hate It Here, the podcast for HR and people professionals, making the hardest job in the world just a little bit easier. I'm Hebba Youssef.
Think of what we get in our personal lives from our favorite brands, even our bank. Calls us by name, gives us some helpful hints for the day. And then it's like we go to work and we think that a text-only, not relevant, boring email is going to motivate and inspire us. It just makes no sense.
Don't let your employee experience become background noise. Instead, transform it into the backbone of your organization with Firstup, the world's first and only intelligent communication platform. Over 500 organizations around the world, including 40 of the Fortune 100, rely on Firstup to build stronger, more productive workforces. Visit firstup.io to learn more. Welcome back to another episode of the I Hate It Here podcast. Have you ever felt like a cog in the machine at work? Or even worse, just a line in a spreadsheet? It's not really a great feeling. We've come to expect personalization in a lot of aspects of our life, but what about work? And as companies grow and scale, sometimes the approach is to build less personalized experiences for the sake of scale, which seems counterintuitive. The employee experience ends up suffering, and most employees just don't want personalized experiences. They actually expect it. And being met with a one-size-fits-all approach absolutely impacts their engagement and retention. I'm digging into this today with my guest to get to the root of, is it possible to build personalization as you grow and scale a company? Joining me today is someone I deeply admire, Nicole Alvino. Nicole Alvino is the Chief Executive Officer and founder at Firstup, the world's first intelligence communications platform. Firstup is used by 40% of Fortune 100 companies to connect with their people, design and deliver personalized communication, and gain engagement insights throughout the employee journey. Customers include big names like Amazon, Tesco, Ford, and Hilton. Prior to co-founding Social Chorus, which is now Firstup, she was the founder and CEO of Derma Lounge and a pioneer in using new technologies to engage employees. But my favorite fact about Nicole, she started her career at Enron in a structured finance where she quickly learned the value of authentic leadership when her bosses went to jail. And to this day, she incorporates authentic leadership into how she builds businesses. Nicole, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. Thrilled to be here.
I'm so pumped to have you. Reading your bio, honestly, it was just like a journey for me. Starting your first career at Enron, describe it in one word. How was it?
Crazy?
Kind of got to be like that when your bosses go to jail and everything's on TV and you're like, oh no, wow, I'm here. I'm pumped to get to this topic today. But before we do, I've asked every single guest this season the one big question. What's one thing a company could do that would make you want to quit?
For me, it's not feeling that sense of purpose or connection. It's a basic human need. Yes, we all need to work. We need money to survive. And also, we have to have that connection. I don't think it's that hard for companies to do, which is clearly why I do what I do. And it also does have to come from the top. So we need CEOs and other C-level executives saying we have to be able to do this.
I just came back from my company retreat, and I will just tell you, watching every single person in person kind of like interact and connect with one another, and then all of them saying like, I can't wait to go back. Like, I'm excited to go home and sad to like leave all of you, but now I have like new friends to talk to in Slack. Which I was like, that to me, I was just like a little hover watching people and their little friends. And I'm like, yay. They're making
humans. Yes.
They did it. It is wild that we all need a sense of purpose and connection at work. And sometimes we forget to do that as HR. So today, I want to talk a little bit about like that experience that people are having at work. But before I get there, I would love if you could tell listeners a little bit about your background and your journey that led to you founding Firstup.
So you touched on it a little bit. I did start my career at Enron, lived through what was then the largest bankruptcy. And so for me, and my bosses really did go to jail. For me, it was kind of two things. One, I said, I'm only going to start companies where I can control the culture and the ethics, so an Enron situation doesn't happen again. And then the second piece was, I needed to do something different to connect with employees. It was a very formative experience for me, first job out of college. and had executives lie to our faces and just be the opposite of authentic and transparent. And so that was just something that I said, I have to address this and I have to fix this in some way.
That's honestly amazing to hear that you care so much about that as a CEO. I think a lot of people in HR feel like a lot of CEOs don't care about that. So it's really great to have you on. I was so excited about that because I've heard so much about you and we've met before. So I knew kind of you lived the very values that you talked about and said were important. When you were thinking about creating Firstup and a tool that focuses on these personalized moments in the workplace, what really inspired that?
Yeah, I think a couple different things. And Firstup is the second company that I founded. And I think when we really got our start and real product market fit, it was two things. One, focus on the frontline worker. 80% of the world's workforce doesn't sit in front of computers like the two of us. And yet, though, that was the biggest group of people who was really left out. And so saying, okay, we've got to do better for these people, especially when we think about their connection to culture and purpose. A story there that really stands out. Boeing, who was one of our early customers, still one of our largest customers today, sat across from it was the chief comms officer at the time and said, look, the people who are our culture, they're building our planes, they're on the floor, they're the ones who are the most disconnected from what we're doing. And that's just not okay. And we have to fix this. And so I think that part is a clear founding principle. It's something that everyone who works at Firstup is really proud of what we're doing. And then the other piece is the way to really connect people with that sense of purpose and meaning is through communication. And so we looked and said, there's really not a platform that can deliver communication at scale where we can think about campaigns just like marketers had done, create beautiful content and communications, be able to reach people wherever they are, especially that frontline. And so really took those principles and said, gosh, look at what Marketo did for marketing. And it took something that before Marketo was just kind of an art and made it a science and brought some discipline with reporting. And we said, we can definitely do this for communications.
A lot of what we do in HR, and maybe this is controversial, I don't know, but we do a lot of marketing as well. And I think a lot of HR people forget that we have to also be really great about how we talk to our employees and communicate the things that are super important. So I love the reference to Marketo because nobody really was doing that for HR and for people, but it's so important. You start that connection the second you start communicating with people.
Exactly. And just think about all the things, just take benefits. Think of how many benefits just go underutilized because people don't know, or they maybe get a litany of benefits when they first start, but they don't know. They're not pregnant then. They don't need to go on bereavement leave. They don't need additional counseling and support. And so it's really about getting that, especially when you think about all those benefits, the right benefits to the right person at the right time when they actually need them. And that's the power of really thinking like marketers and taking principles from those kind of modern marketing and consumer marketing platforms. And fun fact, the woman who's our chief product officer, Cheryl Chavez, built Marketo and came from Marketo. And then our CTO, Peter Lai, also built and came from Marketo. So we have kind of the two experts in the space, really deeply understanding what's worked on the consumer side and bringing that expertise to the employee experience.
I love that you bring up the consumer side because as consumers, we're so used to high levels of personalization, right? I open Netflix and I have all my things there that I should watch, or I get my Spotify recommendations, or I've just come to expect that when I'm interacting with something, it's going to be specialized to just me. But how does that actually translate to the workplace? How do we bridge that gap from our consumer experience to our employee experience?
It's the same thing. And you mentioned two great examples of Netflix and Spotify. And if you think about both of those, they're immersive experiences, they're contextualized experiences, but they're really about knowing you and understanding your preferences, your behavior, your consumption. And it's really taking that data. It's data by your actions and behavior. So you're not necessarily going in and saying, oh, I think I, really want only drama or comedy or rap. You might say that, but the more useful is what you're actually choosing to watch and listen to. And so based on those types of behaviors, you get other suggestions, other playlists, other shows. And that's exactly how we look from a tech side, kind of what we've built at Firstup, and also how we have to bring those principles from the Netflixes and the Spotifys into the employee experience and our guiding our people.
I think so often about how when we're in a crunch as HR, we sometimes tend to build things just for like the one ideal employee profile, and like really stopping to think about the fact that each employee is having a different experience depending on who they are, and really thinking about it feels better when the experiences are built to understand that we're all different. It's almost like a piece of inclusion too, that I think a lot of HR leaders are thinking about, like, how do we build more inclusive cultures? It starts with recognizing that everyone's different. We're all going to have different interests. We're going to have different ways to communicate with each other, and thinking about how to incorporate that into their work every day, I think is going to be a struggle a lot of HR people feel.
And if you think about just even more concepts, right? It's not only where we work, our pay grade, our title, our level, it's all sorts of things. How we learn, what other interests do we have? What affinity groups are we a part of? What's going on outside of work? All of these things factor into who we are as whole people. And to your point, HR leaders have to be able to have ways to understand the totality of the individual to really give them that hyper-personalized experience that's going to draw them closer to the company and back to that, provide that purpose and that meaning.
This entire quarter, I've been talking about like retention, which is a big part of, the employee experience too. Like, are they having a good experience? Are they going to stay as employees? How can personalized experience actually impact employee engagement? Like we touched on it before as you and I were talking, like we want to be recognized for whole people, but what else are you thinking about when you're thinking about personalized experiences and the role they play in employee engagement and productivity?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a direct correlation between how personalized an experience can be, what that does from engagement, productivity, performance, and ultimately retention. We're actually doing some really interesting things with even some predictive modeling, sort of after we've showed a correlation, or even thinking about attribution modeling, like in marketing.
Yeah.
But I think at the basic level, if you just think about something, you're starting a new job onboarding, for example, and think about the stat is, 90% of people decide whether they're going to stay or go, kind of in that critical window of whether it's 30 or 60 days. And so if we can deliver something to somebody that really makes them feel connected, that's a welcome to the team, a welcome video from their CEO, some information about culture and values, connection to a friend at work, being able to deliver something like that that's relevant to that person, that's something that even with that onboarding type of journey that we can correlate to productivity, faster time to productivity, and a higher performer with someone who has done that versus someone who has not. There are so many opportunities to be able, just like in marketing, to say they've done these actions and then they're going to buy that pair of shoes that we want them to buy. In the employee experience, it's where we're giving them these opportunities to connect, and then they are productive and we can see that they are performing, and even look at and help to reduce the high performers who would attrit.
You mentioned all those touch points, right? And those touch points can be
really overwhelming at times. Like really when I'm thinking about like, how do I actually scale an onboarding program? How do I scale this like change management thing? I'm thinking about the million different steps that are in there. And I really do struggle with trying to keep that personalization as I'm building these processes that are scaling. Can you give advice to some of these HR leaders that are trying to balance this need for personalized experiences that really like custom touch and feel with the efficiency that we're trying to build as we scale these processes?
Yeah, and I think that's a huge piece for HR leaders to solve, because that's when the magic happens, and it's the power of the most relevant, important one-on-one that you would have in person, but be able to do that for thousands of people at scale. And so, automation is key. And I think you touched on a point as far as we do have to map out those different employee journeys based on personas. And the more granular you can be around who are the personas, how do they need to go through their day at work, what else can come in outside of work? Are they bringing a child into the world? Do they have a sick parent? Does someone in their family pass away? All of these things that we can't predict. We don't know when they're going to happen. And as HR leaders, we know that those things are so incredibly important in someone's life, and how we treat them as employers. That's an opportunity or a decision point when someone's going to say, wow, my employer really does care about me. And that's so meaningful to me that I'm going to continue to stay and perform at my best. Versus if you're going through an experience coming back from a maternity leave, going out on a maternity leave, when your employer doesn't care or doesn't give you what you need to guide you through that experience, that's an easy way for an employee to just be completely turned off and start to look elsewhere. So it has to be that, how are we mapping out these different personas, these different journeys? And then we absolutely need some technology to do that automation, because there's no way you can do it at scale without that.
Something I do on my side in HR just to organize my work is I map all of our projects to a stage in the employee life cycle. It's like very small, like 5 stages. And I just think about like a million things happen within these stages, but I map my projects to it to just really understand where am I spending the bulk of my time in like the employee journey, and where can I have the most impact? Because there's like really good inflection points like onboarding, huge impact. People's life things, huge impact. Milestones, huge impact. Like people want to feel recognized and appreciated. And so that's something I've tried to do a bit more. And it helps me, just like as the company is scaling, to like really look at where I'm focusing my time and what gaps there might be in this experience. But I think mapping out different personas can be so powerful. I just like have not stopped and done that yet. But yeah. I think once you do it once, you usually just have to like refresh it. You're never going to have to do it all over again, right? So something to do here, because I really think that as we're looking at like the next wave of work, we've just gone through the pandemic, we're kind of like adjusting back to life. I think like the big thing is that we are as a world, apparently like loneliness is on the rise and connection is dropping. Mm-hmm. And for me at work, it's like if we're feeling that in the real world, people are definitely feeling it at work, and people are only just going to get tired and leave the job quicker, which then ends up being more work for us and a not great experience for the rest of the employees who are constantly seeing churn. Mm-hmm. So if you're listening to this, like I do really recommend thinking about like how you are personalizing your employee experience and how you can scale it, because it can have a major impact.
Yeah.
Employees receive an average of 120 messages throughout their day. That can contribute to rising burnout and plummeting productivity. Cut that noise by up to 75% with Firstup. Firstup helps HR and communication teams deliver personalized communications at scale in a matter of minutes, so that everyone, from your knowledge workers to your frontline workers, have the resources they need right at their fingertips. It's time to put your employees first. Visit firstup.io to learn more.
I want to dig into a little bit like any biggest hurdles you have faced when you're trying to implement this personalized moments for like really large groups.
The first thing is just deciding to do it, right? So it's okay, we're going to do it. That's step one. Yes, it's change. Yes, it's different. And to your point, you have to start by mapping it out. And so being thoughtful, here are the personas, here are the moments that matter, whether it's stages, the big, even ranking them. And I think once you have that, and we even have built some employee journey maps and some tools to even help with that. And this is way before you even need technology to automate it. But just to get all of that planning done, that needs to be step one. You can never just start with technology. And then you add that automation. And the automation, and a really critical component too, is if you think about the data that you need to trigger a different journey to start. Right? Onboarding, that's easy. Somebody signs their offer letter. Oftentimes our customers, and we do this at Firstup too, is even in that stage, you sign your offer letter, and before you start, there are certain things that we can give you in that period to make you feel welcome and make you feel connected. Right. And then on day one, you can start to get things that might be more proprietary. We don't want you to just join and say, here's your W-9, start filling out all these forms. Of course, you need to do that. But isn't it more delightful if you get a welcome video from your CEO, you get other people videos talking about culture and values. We always also stage some of our customer stories, so our people can learn about the importance of the work and how we're touching the employees that we serve and helping them have a better employee experience. And so all of those pieces, and again, triggered by, that one's easy. That's a start date. And if you start to think about these moments that you're mapping out and what you need is it a moment of promotion? Is it a moment of someone going out on a certain leave? And then it's, okay, how do I make sure that I understand where that data is kept? Is it all in my HRIS? Is it somewhere else? Because being able to have that right data strategy and kind of data in to trigger a journey, that part becomes really, really important, not only to start the journey, and then we're continuing to learn and get more of that behavioral data. How and when are people engaging? And we can continue to use that to learn more deeply and understand more deeply about each person. And that's really, we even call it our data flywheel for the employee experience, to continue to learn, to continue to deliver that personalized experience.
I mean, like, even listening to you explain it and thinking about my own work, like, it just gets really overwhelming sometimes as an HR person to manage all of this.
Yeah.
None of us have like endless resources. So I love what Firstup is doing, because to me, it just really naturally makes sense. Like, I should not be spending all my time writing custom comms for every single time we like hire a new person. Like, having a way to really have it there and identified, starting the work and mapping it early can have such an impact.
Mm-hmm.
When I think about being overwhelmed too, I like worry that we're missing important moments in people's lives. And once you miss an important moment, like gaining the trust back is really hard, I think.
Exactly.
So you got to do something. If you're listening to this and you're like, oh God, what do I do? Where do I start? I would really start just like sitting down and mapping your employee journey, similar to what Nicole was talking about, and all the inflection points and all the things that could happen in your personas is a great place to start that I think would honestly take the stress off a lot of people.
Definitely.
Okay, but let's get to strategies, because here's an important thing. It's like, it's not, I hate it here standard. I got to give people some strategies and some tips. So talk to me a little bit about what strategies companies can actually adopt to start incorporating more personalized moments into the workplace culture.
I think step one, which I said, you've got to get your C-level executives on board and understanding. So yes, a chief people officer is going to say, we need to do this. We always find that if we can talk about that correlation to a positive business outcome, is there a big change management initiative that you absolutely need to make sure is adopted by a certain percentage of your people? Are you focusing on reducing attrition in a certain part of your business? Do you have a new product that you're bringing out that you need your people to understand? The more that we can correlate and then attribute the behavior and these personalized moments to drive those outcomes, then it becomes a no-brainer for even the CFO to get on board and especially your CEO. So I think that's step one. And then we talked about this employee journey mapping. That's a must. Like I said, we have some tools that you can download on our site to help. I think just getting that sorted and going through that thoughtful work. And then once you have that piece, then it's really about your data strategy. Where does the data live? We all love our HRIS systems, and we all know they're very, very clean and have all of the information we need. So there is that component and partnership with, let's make sure I'm really understanding what are the critical pieces that I need as a trigger to start some of these different journeys.
It's so interesting that you bring up the C-suite initiative and getting your CFO on board. 'Cause I've heard from so many HR people lately that like budgets are getting slashed, and they're asking me like, what is one thing that you absolutely could not live without? And I've talked a lot about like a tool to help you manufacture and like create these moments of like connection and authenticity, because your employees, I mean, like no one's going to die if you don't do a performance management system. You could do without it, in my opinion, but like you can't do with forgetting that the employees are really experiencing things. And I think if you bring it back to that if you're thinking about their experience, how they are experiencing your workplace and experiencing life, and you find a tool that can help you do that, and it has such an impact on productivity and the bottom line.
Absolutely.
And I bring it back to that every time. Like, I don't know. It's just, we're in the journey of like creating good experiences for people. It's so interesting that you bring up the more personalized moments, because there's truly nothing I hate more than a work email that reads like it just got spit out of ChatGPT and doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, who is even sending this? So do you have any best practices for ensuring that these personalized moments are actually meaningful and not just these weird automated messages we get from our HRIS or from our chief people officer that's like, hey, thank you for being here?
Right. It looks like it's in DOS with no sort of, yes,
I get those all
immersive.
the time.
Yeah. I mean, I keep going back to think of what we get in our personal lives from our favorite brands, even our bank calls us by name, gives us some helpful hints for the day. And then it's like we go to work and we think that a text only, not relevant, boring email is going to motivate and inspire us. It just makes no sense. So, we were very big on video first, super easy to make. They don't have to be perfect. They must be short, no 20-minute videos. And especially if you think about newer entrants to the workforce, they're digital native, they're mobile first, they're used to getting curated, personalized short videos to guide them through their lives. We have to be able to do that at work.
Yeah.
And again, it's not that hard. Yes, you need to be intentional. Yes, you need to do things differently, but we have to be able to deliver with mediums that our people are used to. And also to your point about, whether it's a promotion announcement or someone, you can get, an awful one-liner, congratulations on your promotion, or you can get a video that, yes, CEOs and executives can make multiple videos that can be relevant. So you're getting something, you're getting a thank you, you're getting something from your direct boss, you're getting something from someone on your team. All of those initial pieces just make you feel important and cared for.
I just want to feel special, like in every aspect of my life, to be very candid. I'm just like exposing all my truths today. I like want to feel special in everything. And so like when you're thinking about work, really thinking about what are the moments where people want to feel special and thinking about creative ways. Like I love that you mentioned video. My CEO would be great on video. Like I would love for him to record like little shorts and send them out to employees, or even like team managers. Like if you have someone new joining your team, they're going to be so nervous. Everyone's like it's like first day of school vibes except you're in a workplace and now you're expected to produce and you're like trying to find your friends and you're wondering like, did I even make the right decision? There's so much anxiety during those first few days that to have a video or something really small from your manager that was like, hey, like, I loved learning about this about you in the interview process. I'm so excited for you to join our team. We can't wait to have you. We're a scroll video culture. And I think the more that we can take what we do in our personal lives and like kind of incorporate some of it into work, the more natural it's going to feel.
Absolutely.
I love the use of videos. I don't think enough people are using video.
No, that's a big push. I mean, I do it for us and people love it. It's just a way, again, it's authentic, it's transparent. You can get a lot of information across. And then, we've got the CEOs of Intel and Amazon and Whirlpool doing the same. And so that it's just a way to create that connection and ensure that everyone at the company just is connected and understands not only what's going on, but again, helping to drive that sense of purpose.
And truthfully, I think, so listen, I grew up as I'm a big reader. I talk about it a lot. I love reading. But I would probably be more likely to watch a video all the way in its entirety than read a really long email.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out there. If you have charismatic leadership, I'd recommend put them in front of a camera, see what they say.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Might be really fun. What I mentioned video because I don't know, I'm just in my TikTok era right now where everything is a TikTok to me. But what other emerging trends have you seen in the realm of workplace personalization?
What I'm seeing is we're just continuing to follow what we've seen in consumer marketing and consumer experience and seeing those trends continue. So, video in those formats, that's definitely one. Omnichannel is another. So if you think about ways, again, you're looking at a pair of shoes and you might be on your desktop and then you switch to mobile and maybe you'll get an SMS or a push notification that says, we noticed this is still in your cart. We'll give you free shipping and you still don't take action. And then you're checking your email and you get an email offering another discount. So these are different ways that as we go through our day, as humans and as consumers, we are on multiple devices.
Yeah.
And so bringing that notion of omni-channel and truly meeting people where they are, that's another big trend. And then I can't overestimate I can't, just talk about the importance of data to drive that personalization and really using it to learn and understand preferences and behavior, and then be able to magically, just like in our consumer lives, be able to deliver what we need when we need it, where we want it.
Yeah, I got to be honest. They always get me with the shoes. I always end up buying them.
Boom. There you go. It works.
I had someone recently tell me, I don't know if I've shared it on the podcast this season, but I think I will. Somebody recently was like, you're really good at marketing. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, you seem to really really marketing. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have a marketing background, but I'm always thinking about what do the employees need to know? How do they need to receive it? What is going to get my point across best? And how can I make them understand what's in it for them?
Yeah.
And then I was like, yeah. And then I map it to this thing and it's a campaign. And they were like, you just described marketing. And I was like, oh.
Yeah,
I get it. But I think a lot of HR leaders are doing this intentionally and don't even realize.
And I think that's the opportunity because campaigns work. They just do. And it's what is my audience? What is my desired outcome? And then what do I need to do? What is the thing I need to give them? The content, the communication, is it a video? Is it some bullet points? Is it a survey? Am I asking for feedback? Kind of what are the things that I need to do to get to that desired outcome? And then let's measure it. And if I didn't get to the desired outcome, let's retarget. Let's do something else. And so, like you said, you've explained marketing and marketing automation. And that's what we see. There's just a massive, massive opportunity to give this to HR leaders to really manage the employee experience at scale and be able to, just like getting those people to buy the shoes, Buy the shoes, understand your full benefits, be on a leadership track, right? Be a high performer and stay for a really long time.
It's so fascinating sometimes being in this role because a lot of the things we experience at work mirror the outside world. So things happening in the world always kind of show up at work. But this last frontier of like our consumer experience is so different from our workplace experience, I think is like we're finally getting closer to it. Even in this conversation, I'm like, it's so clear to me the things I need to now go work on in the next 3 to 6 months to make sure that my employees are getting this like really custom, robust feeling experience. But I find it interesting that the last frontier feels like right now that we're treated as consumers elsewhere, and at work, we're not really treated as consumers. And so I'm excited to see where the future goes. But how do you envision that workplace communications are going to evolve in maybe the next 5 to 10 years, like broader horizon?
Yeah, no, I think it's exactly what you described. It's sort of like we need to engage with our people like we really know them. And I think that seems, again, simple, but it's quite profound. And to your point, it's hard to do it at scale. And we can't trade off the personalization or really, really knowing them for scale. And as HR professionals, we're asked to do more with less. And so we are going to have to use technology to automate some of these things and really deliver on those experiences. Obviously, I think AI is one big way that we will be able to deliver hyper-personalized, contextualized experiences at scale. And one of the interesting ways that I think things will evolve right now, we're seeing a lot of AI and Gen AI in content creation. Let's help me write this, create this video, whatever it might be. I think the real opportunity is actually on the receiving end. So if you think about communication is two-way, we have to connect with our people. It's not just what we're pushing at them, it's how they're receiving it. And so, as a CEO, if I make a video, maybe not everybody wants to receive a video. Maybe some people actually would prefer bullet points, or they want something that is created into some sort of visual or an infographic. Language translation, that's easy. We're doing that today. But as we really think about providing that every single employee an experience personalized and tailored to them, we are going to, in addition to technology to help with automation, some AI to really help to understand the receiving end of the communication, because that's ultimately what will drive any sort of behavior change we want, any sort of true engagement and inspiration that we need to get our people performing at their peak potential.
Oh, I love that two-way street opportunity. I'm like, what would my employees even reply with? It was like a real thought I just had. I was like, oh God, what are they going to say when I let them do this? But I think it's so true. I'm excited, honestly. A lot of the problems I see in the workplace, I always come back to is a communications problem, and the connection and recognition and all of it's really connected. And I don't think a lot of us have stopped to think could this retention problem that we have, or this toxic environment that maybe we've accidentally created, could we have done something communicate better and actually avoided this completely? And I think a lot of times I spiral about this, honestly. It's probably an existential crisis I have at least twice a month, where I'm like, God, we should have communicated that better, because we should have made it clear. And if we had made it clear from the beginning, and then this wouldn't have happened and we wouldn't be here. But I don't know. I'm going to be spiraling about this again today, because I think it's exciting to see where we're going as a workplace experience. And I think the desire for personalized is never going to go away.
Never. And if you think that most problems we have are communication problems, or better said, communication can provide the solution.
Yeah.
And so, that's the lens, I obviously believe that that's the lens that I see the world. And when I talk to other CEOs at at our customers much, much larger than us, that's what it is. It's like, if you can't connect with your people and communicate with them, like nothing's going to happen at your company, and things that are either misunderstood or not understood or not done. It's something that we can fix with communication. And so I think it just continues to be such an opportunity.
It's so funny because sometimes like we do an all hands on Monday where we talk about something, and then my CEO does an email every Sunday. And then truthfully, I think I drop whatever is happening in Slack maybe 3 or 4 times. And it's never lost on me that employees still forget it or like don't realize it. And so I'm walking away from this episode really thinking like, I need to be more thoughtful about like these communications we send and personalizing them, and really thinking about what are the employees experiencing. Because sometimes like we're a rapid growth startup. I'm like, I got things to do. I got people to talk to. I don't got time to like fully write this out, but it's for sure a missed opportunity. And I think like the fact that I come back to that stat about loneliness and connection, like loneliness is at an all-time high, connection is at an all-time low. It just to me is an opportunity for every single, like that's like low-hanging fruit for HR leaders to go figure out like what is the moments that matter, what is my personalized like the user journey, what's happening here, and how are employees actually feeling in the day-to-day. It's great.
Absolutely.
I'm excited.
We've just solved all of the biggest problems.
Oh my God, we solved all their retention issues. After they listen to this episode, they'll never have retention. Like, no kidding. No, but I don't know. I'm excited. I want to feel, again, coming back to feeling special, I want to feel special at work. All the employees do too.
It's true. Again, basic human need. Feel known, feel connected, you use the word special, and we can do that right now. Yes, we need the strategy and the thoughtfulness and the time, and now we do have technology to provide the automation. So I'm super inspired and excited about where we are just in the space and where we're going, and really the opportunity for all people leaders, not just leaders of HR, but anyone managing people, because it's a huge opportunity to really inspire your people.
Yeah. I need some inspiration. This was wonderful, Nicole. Thank you so much for spending time with me today and digging into this, and basically reaffirming that I am at my core maybe a marketing genius. Just kidding.
So many geniuses.
People genius here. So for those who are looking to get in touch with you after listening to this episode, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Nicole at firstup.io. And like I said, we've got a lot of great materials on our site to help with journey mapping, getting started, a great employee experience library as well. So we want to definitely help you take those initial steps and make those as easy as possible.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your journey and inspiration today. And you've given me so much to think about. Like, truthfully, I need to go redo our comms and all the things. I need to go make it better, okay? I need to make it better.
It's special. Good. It's good. Inspired. It can always be better.
It can always be better. Thank you again, Nicole.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in. Keep up with all the latest HR resources by subscribing on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen. And if you love I Hate It Here, tell an HR friend. I'll see you next time.